staff on my Discord. So I'm actually going to show right here. You see this bed? You do not want to leave this unprotected, okay? And you also don't want to just protect it with wool. We're going to get some wood here. So you can see they're actually protecting it. And the problem is and it is definitely good to protect it with something. Like, don't leave it completely empty. So I'm glad Tiff actually came back to protect that, because she saw that it wasn't protected yet. And that's really dangerous, you know, to not protect your bed. So definitely want to protect it. Definitely don't start it with wool. Start it with something better than wool. Got a team here. You saw we just got hit quite a bit, and they couldn't get past this wood because all they had was wooden pickaxes. And so that protected us. That saved us. That gave us a little bit more time. Now, if someone came through with like an iron, you know, axe, then we would have been in trouble. But most of those players did not know to use that. So we're going to save up 48 and we're going to put some stone. So next is actually don't just use a single material for protecting your bed if possible. I'm going to show you that right now. Typically you'd want to do that a little bit later. You know, have like, this is plenty for starting out. You know, if that, like if you're a really good player, you don't even need more than wool. I will tell you that for sure. If your team knows what they're doing, you do not need to use anything. And honestly, unless we have a game against good players, we don't typically even protect our bed. And why do we do that? Well, because we are typically pushing all teams at once and they don't have a chance to breathe. We want them to come after our bed because, you know, as soon as we do our attack, one of our team members are going to spawn back at base. And so we're going to be back at base anyway. At that point, we will protect it. So there's different strategies. There's different calculations of risk. There's also dependent on the map. In this map, you would never leave your bed unprotected. This is a small map. You do not leave your bed unprotected on this map, okay? So this is actually decent. It's not great. It's decent. So let's go to the next one. So next one is don't sit at iron like this, okay? Like you're actually sitting here and your team's trying to go and do stuff and you're just sitting like this entire time. And what happens is when someone dies, you want to have a reserve of iron already stacked and ready for them. You don't want to just be sitting here because what's happened is he's going to come back and he's trying to get some iron and now he has to sit there. What happens? Everything slows down, right? Everything slows down. So again, try not to hoard the iron. That's not a good idea. So next up is a scenario where, you know, trying to cross a bridge and someone's got a bow, right? And see how someone just knocked me with the bow and I gave them my iron. I had 19 iron. That is a no-no. Both of those are different no-nos. I'm going to get to those in a minute. But, you know, crossing a bridge while you have iron and someone has a bow on the other side, I mean, that's really bad. You couldn't make a bigger mistake in that scenario other than just giving someone your bed. Like, you basically fed them. I'm going to cover feeding in just a moment. But the big thing here is when you're crossing a bridge, don't just cross when someone's on the other side like that. Not a good idea, okay? Not a good idea. So when you're crossing a bridge in that scenario, just, again, see right here, if you're in a scenario like that and they have a bow, what you want to do is you can either double row, so you can basically build a secondary bridge but go sideways. So that way it's going to be harder for them to knock you, right? So you got a wider bridge. So if they did hit you, you're not going to get knocked off, right? And so, you know, in that scenario, you could have actually, you know, padded that. Now, what happens if they're actually just sitting here with a sword and you're crossing a bridge? That's another no-no. You don't want to cross a bridge like that when someone's on here just kind of like this, right? So say you're crossing the bridge and they're like this, they have the advantage because you hit them, they're just gonna knock back like this, right? So actually not gonna hit you. They're just basically gonna knock back. And see, this guy's actually shooting arrows at me right now. I gotta be careful with that. But see right here. So in this scenario, if you're attacking a guy that's sitting right there, what you want to do instead when you're crossing, you don't want to just cross the bridge. What you want to do instead is get it upper ground and go over him, right? So you're gonna go over the player and then you're gonna drop down behind them. And then you're going to knock them this way, right? So you want to knock them off. You want to get on the other side of them so you can knock them. Otherwise, knocking someone into a larger body of area, unless you have better armor, you're pretty much, it's already, you know, they're already going to win that. So again, just something to think about whenever you're playing, you know, take those things to note. Just don't cross a bridge like that. It's kind of silly. Don't do that. This is a don't right here. See how this player just crossed? See, we just knocked him. Easy knock. Now, related to what we just covered is don't feed the enemy team. See how much iron I have? You want to use that iron before you actually go and attack. Because here's the thing. If you go and attack with, you know, diamonds, emeralds, and iron, and you die, you're just feeding the enemy team. That's called feeding. And it's the worst thing you could possibly do to a team that is turtling. You're basically feeding the enemy team. This is a big mistake that most players make in this game. I will tell you, even some of the greatest players I've played with do this all the time. And what they do is they just keep running into the turtled base. And what happens is every single time they go in with iron or diamonds or emeralds, they actually are feeding the enemy team because they're probably going to die. If they're going in by themselves to a turtled team, they're probably going to die. It's just, it happens so much. Unless they're really good, they're probably going to die. So again, don't go into an enemy base. I only have 7. Now, if you only have 7, it's no big deal, right? But if you have other stuff, then yeah, you don't really want to do that. So again, this is a great example. I've got 6 emeralds. You do not want to feed the enemy team. This is not a time to attack. When you have a full load of emeralds, you do not attack, okay? If you're going to attack, let me tell you, going back to that tip, if you're going to attack and you have a stack, what you need to do is drop this to your team. Do that, drop it to your team or leave it behind. Don't bring it with you. Let me tell you, don't bring it with you. Now, I will tell you right now, if you actually do get knocked by someone, on the way down, while you're falling, so I'm actually going to jump off right now, while you're falling, just spam this and get rid of as much as you can while you're falling to the void, okay? Try to actually dump your items so that you don't actually give those to the enemy team, okay? So if it says you were killed by someone, you basically just fed, although we just won. And so, you know, again, they can't, if they're turtling, they can't get emeralds